right? Okay. So how did you, how did you split up the space?
Bunk bed.
50-50.
Bunk
Yeah,
beds,
basically,
50-50. Okay. So even 50-50 bunk bed, like what would happen if your sibling was on your side of the bunk bed?
Assault.
What do you mean?
Assault.
On the other side, it's up
Or
and
up and down, right? On
Oh.
your bunk.
I'd start throwing hands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
assault, right? Okay. So if you split the room 50-50, what would happen if your sibling put stuff on your wall?
I'd move it.
Take it down.
You'd move it,
I would
take it
put
down.
on their side.
Right? And so the idea of self-government essentially is that, indigenous people, from my understanding, what they're asking for is that, hey, within Canada, we want to be able to govern ourselves. And that's kind of complicated. Like even with you and your sibling, it's hard to sort out. Like, what do you do when your sibling takes and does stuff on your side? And what's going to happen, if you do something on your brother's side? A lot of that, right? So it's a complicated issue. There's no easy solution here. So the way governments divide powers is that whoever is closest to it, closest level of government to that issue, they cover it, right? So do you think if the road outside the school was broken down, do you think that that's a federal, provincial, or municipal problem? Municipal, right? It's a Leduc problem. So Leduc should do something. What about the highway between, Edmonton and Calgary? Right, that might be something more in the province, right? Maybe a couple municipals get together. What about making sure we don't get invaded?
Federal.
Federal, right? Okay, so there are different levels of problems and there are different levels of government to ideally assess and handle those problems, right? Which doesn't always happen. Okay, but municipal governments, so local communities get their powers from provincial governments. Okay, so the government does have a bit of a say in what happens in the province, and then can, to some extent, limit and restrict what the community is doing. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead in about 5 seconds. So whatever you're writing down, get it down. Okay, I'll post this. I'll make sure to post this on Google Classroom as well. Sometimes I post things a bit late. I apologize. Okay. Okay. So which of these different areas of governance do you think are for the federal level? Right, just raise your hand.
International trade.
International trade, right? Dealing with other countries. Good.
National defense.
National defense, right? Protecting our borders.
Indigenous land rights.
Indigenous land rights, very likely.
Natural resources.
Natural resources, perhaps.
Citizenship and passport.
Citizenship and passport, right? So we got a couple there for sure. What do you think the province deals with? Right there.
Education.
Education.
Hospitals
Hospitals,
and healthcare.
healthcare.
Road maintenance.
Road maintenance. Yeah, those are all good answers. What about the municipal city? What do you think the city's dealing with?
Local parks.
Local parks, yeah.
Local police and fire.
Local police and fire. Anything else in there?
Local.
Road maintenance likely, yeah. Okay, all right, so here for the next slide, maybe just write down 2 in each category that you didn't know existed there. Okay, so don't write them all down, you'll get this slideshow, but just to give you an idea of what exists. So federal is taking care of the citizenship and passports. I don't know how many of you watch the news or tune in here and there, but the federal government, our federal government right now has had a lot of issues with passports, right? Has anyone had to renew their passport in the last 2 years, 3 years? Right. How did that process go?
We had it rushed, so it came really quick, less than 2 weeks.
That's very fortunate.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Did anyone else have a similar experience or an opposite?
Opposite. It took a while.
Like 2 months, 3 months, 6?
No, 2 months maybe.
2 months, right? Okay, all right. So the federal government struggle with that. National defense as well. Our Air Force just bought a bunch of old jets that a lot of people weren't really happy about. Criminal law, foreign affairs, international trade. So you know, definitely like when Trump came into office and he was renegotiating certain international trade agreements, you know, what was the Liberal Party, what was Trudeau trying to do as well? What is he still trying to do? Okay. Some stuff at the province, so education, so each province is kind of in charge of its own curriculum and how things go. So all of you in Alberta, when you finish grade 12, I'm assuming the diplomas will still be there, so you'll all write a diploma, but there are other provinces where they don't have diploma exams. Okay. Hospitals, healthcare, dealing with natural resources should be a provincial right, but if anyone's been following the news and following kind of the challenges that our conservative government is having with the Liberal government at the federal level, you know, there are issues where the province wants to get which resource out of the province. What are we trying to sell? Oil, right? Very valuable resource. Would have been very useful for many European countries when Russia invaded Ukraine. And so sometimes the federal government blocks that or makes it more complicated than it needs to be. Driver's licensing and highways. How many of you have your driver's license? Or learners? Okay, a couple of you. How many of you are going to get it in the next 12 months?
Honestly, I'm like,
Okay, I'll make sure to watch out on the roads. Okay, municipal, so local parks, road maintenance. How many of you, like in Leduc, do the roads get shoveled pretty quick?
no, no.
1 week?
Not at all.
Not at all in some places, okay. Okay. So you gotta get the cars to, okay. Local police, fire protection as well, that's municipal stuff. Okay, this is the last slide. I don't know if we really need to write down some notes, but yeah, there are some shared responsibilities. So, you know, municipal governments are responsible for zoning, which from my understanding is basically like zoning for houses and buildings and giving permits, garbage disposal and sewage. Provincial governments, they regulate land use, various harmful emissions, and you know, the federal government sets that Environmental Protection Act.